Good morning, good evening, and good night, folks. I am very sorry for the delay. The thing is, I've had some interesting computer issues,
I never killed nobody.
and they have destroyed the original audio file that I had for this.
I already told you, I forgot to report to my parole.
On the plus side, this particular video is probably the single best thing that Heavy Rain actually does, so I hope you'll...
We checked out his statement.
Enjoy is probably not the word for it, but it is certainly good. So I just want to point out immediately that this is the guy who was apprehended in the meat market after throwing coffee at our intrepid detectives, and they have taken him in for questioning and determined his alibi.
Sean Moss's mother
this is very important.
She'd like to speak with you.
It was a few months back, the middle of the night. It was pouring down. Ethan came home completely drenched at about 3. I asked him where he'd been. He spoke about drowning, the rain. He didn't make any sense. There was something in his eyes, as if it wasn't really him. There may be no connection.
His tie just moved.
But the next day, there was that announcement about another victim of the origami killer. Find my son. I'm begging you.
Alright.
I'm Police Lieutenant Carter Blake, and this is Agent Norman Jaden of the FBI.
Norman
Jaden,
sorry.
Ethan Mars is one of your patients. We'd like to ask you a few questions about him.
I'm sorry, that's impossible.
Okay, first of all, we all know that this is
I'm bound by an oath of
bullshit.
secrecy. Under no circumstances may I discuss
Except
my
if you believe that they are responsible for a significant crime. They're
alive, and I don't give a damn about any bullshit.
Thank you, but see, this is one of the things that just drives me up the wall about this whole
Legally, you gotta
thing.
tell us what you know.
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Why is
Now I
there
must
a
ask you to
Jesus in the
leave.
background?
You need to cooperate.
Okay.
For your own sake.
First of all, this entire scene seems like it should have some ability for you to interact with it. You know, you have all these different options from Jaden, but
Are you threatening me?
I went through
I'm
this
just giving
several
you some
times
free
for
advice, Doc.
various
Suggest you
reasons,
take it.
and realized that no matter what,
John
literally no
Mars's
matter
life may
what,
depend on
you
what you know.
cannot
Tell us what you
affect
know,
what is
Doctor.
happening. This might as well have
I'm
just
going
been
to
one of
call the
those
police and make a
cutscene
complaint about your
chapters
behavior.
where it just shows you the story.
Doctor, you
Of
are
course,
really
that's really
pushing
the
my
case for the
buttons.
entire game,
The
but
only
this
thing
in
I'm interested
particular
in is
just
saving
feels
that kid's
so
life. So, you're gonna be a good
obvious.
boy and tell me what I want to know, or I am
I mean,
really
it-
gonna lose
I don't even
my
mean that it gives you
temper.
different dialogue
Doctor,
choices.
a
It's just
child's
literally
life's
this
at stake.
exact same
There
thing
ain't no
will
something
happen
that
every
can help
time.
us save him.
You have no right!
So anyway, what drives me up a wall... Not this scene, necessarily, but the way this is executed is, first of all, that's David Cage getting beaten up, so no problems there.
Come on, Doc.
The other
Easy
thing
way and a hard way.
is that,
It's your fucking choice.
as I mentioned way back at the beginning, there is one dialogue option that will tell you
have
that
no
Ethan
right
was in a
to hit him.
coma for
I'm
6
saving a
months.
kid's life for Christ's sake. If you don't
And
like
that
it,
only
leave.
happened, I think, 2 years prior. That having been said, the origami killer has been active for more than 2 years. And Ethan was in a coma during at least 2 of those deaths.
What's up with you, Norm? How you getting cold feet? You don't like to get your hands dirty, huh?
This is
I thought you wanted to save that kid.
Such an
I wanna
obvious
save Sean
thing
Mars
for
just as much as you
somebody
do, but that doesn't
to
give me the
mention.
freedom to do what the hell I like. So
You
you're
know,
gonna
like
stop this shit
his
right
therapist
now.
who knows he was in a coma for 2 years. Or 2 years. 6 months, sorry.
I'll get you for this, Jaden.
This
Don't
is
worry. I will
such an
not
obvious trail.
forget.
Ethan Mars has had psychological problems since his first
Oh, for
son died.
God's sake.
Feels responsible
Also,
for his
he was
death.
unconscious for 6 months.
Sort of
I'm just
morbid
telling
neurosis.
you.
He is haunted by visions of drowning bodies. A few weeks ago, after one of our usual sessions, I found this on the floor.
David Cage, psychiatrist, come
It must
on.
have fallen out of his pocket.
Anyway, this is one of those many
I want you to assign
many
every available
beautiful
man to
moments
finding
where
Ethan
the game
Barnes.
could have
I
been
want a man outside
solved
his place
if
day
somebody
and night.
had just had a
Notify
modicum
all
of sense.
agencies to start looking for him. I want you to keep an eye on the train stations, the airports, the bus terminals. I want every cop in the city on his ass, so that if he moves, we know about it. Yes, Ethan Mars is the origami
No, he's...
killer.
These are the worst police. Meanwhile, at a golf roof... Wait a minute, whoa. I'm not sure I understand the construction of this building. Oh well.
Big stick, little ball. Never could see the point of this game. I wonder what we're going to talk about. Well, well, an old friend. I kept Lauren in the dark on this one. I'll pick her up from her place later on. The most exclusive golf club in town. Strange place.
Is it
for a
really?
place.
Business
Nice shot.
appointment at a golf club? Come on.
Thank you. Please come in, Mr. Shelby. Would you care for a coffee?
Oh, no thanks.
Do you play?
I tried once, but I think the owner of the course is still looking for me.
It's an interesting sport. It requires strength, but also a cool head and absolute precision. Would you care to hit a few balls with me? There's no danger of damaging the greens here.
I didn't say that was why he was looking for
Okay.
me.
Take off your jacket and grab a club.
So this is one of the very interesting decision-making things that must go into making interactive drama. And that is trying to engage the player while still presenting the
The balls
story,
are in that basket.
which is, generally speaking, composed more like a movie. There are ways of doing this. There are successful means of delivering your movie script while still
The
allowing
most
the
important
player
thing is to grip the club
some
correctly.
kind of
When
meaningful
you feel ready.
interaction. And forcing them to play a weird golf minigame is probably not it. I mean, on the one hand, at least you're doing something. Otherwise, the game would just be talking to you the entire time, and this would basically turn to Beyond Two Souls.
Impressive. You seem to
But
have a
this
knack
also
for it.
feels really
Beginner's luck.
unconnected, disconnected, meaningless.
I'm assuming you didn't invite me here just to play golf, Mr. Kramer.
I hear you've been asking questions about my son.
That's right. I want to know if Gordy is linked to the origami killer case in any way.
It would also help if the dialogue moved along while you were doing your stupid golf swings. Actually, why doesn't it?
My son had nothing to do with that sordid
He's
case.
really just waiting politely for you to finish your swing.
Well, then he has nothing to fear from my investigation.
This game.
You have no business investigating my son. I told you, he had nothing to do with it.
With all due respect, Mr. Kramer, it's up to me to decide who I want to investigate.
Well, that's true. There are certain ways to spend your time more wisely, Mr. Shelby.
I'm an
Playing the
influential
world's
man,
slowest
Shelby,
golf conversation
and I pay
really
very
isn't
well
it.
for loyalty.
Are you trying to buy me?
Let's just say I'm trying to show you where your interest lies. How much do you want to leave my son alone?
I think you misunderstood me. I don't play that game.
Don't go near my son, Mr. Shelby. If you do, you'll regret it.
Well, Scott Shelby could beat up a
Have a nice day,
good
Mr.
number
Kramer.
of bouncers earlier. I don't think he's too concerned about anything. Scott Shelby. So having seen these series of extremely sensible and riveting cutscenes, I'm sure some people may be wondering, seriously, you consider this the strongest part of the game? And, well, no, that entire previous bit, no, definitely not. Except maybe the part where they beat up the psychiatrist, that's pretty fun. This actually is, I would say, far and away the best of the trials, and by extension, the single best thing in the game.
Porcelain lizards? They look new. Out of place with the rest of this old beat-up stuff.
I mean, it's too bad that Ethan still can't act, but... And part of this is this build-up right here, this horrifying, grimy hallway, the little porcelain lizards along the way. There's something really just off about the whole scene that really sells the build-up, at least. Unfortunately, you lose a little bit of your momentum when you have to crack open all these different little lizards. Or not crack them open. You can just listen. The objective here is to find a key inside one of the lizards. It's probably easier to just smash them all, although I'm not sure if you have to listen first before you can just crack them. I think you do. And yes, the whole thing would be so much easier if you could just smash lizards. Go ahead. But no. No, you have to systematically pick up every lizard, listen to its insides, decide whether you want to break it or just set it back down. There are too many lizards for this to maintain a sense of tension. And they're cute. Look at that lizard. Does not help that I think I literally found every lizard except the one you actually needed until the end. But I just got angry at him. You know, one step forward, two steps back. I'm also not sure why the key doesn't rattle around when you first pick up the lizard, but... there we go.
Are you prepared to suffer to save your son? You have 5 minutes to cut off the last section of one of your fingers in front of the camera. If you succeed, you will get your reward.
Right, yeah, that's brilliant. So we have 5 real-time minutes to assess this rancid, horrible apartment and gather up materials necessary to complete the trial. There are a variety of tools that you can pick up, and not all of them necessarily relate to the actual act of severance. And some of these are actually meant to help Ethan calm himself down a little bit before the inevitability here. Oh wow, now that shot just angers me.
You have 4 minutes and 30 seconds left.
Now this opening bit here is perhaps a bit overdrawn. I admit that there's a very good amount of tension that can be built up, but the way the game's controls work actually kind of hurts some of this, just the bizarre, awkward animations and how easily you can just inadvertently fail some of these QTEs, and it just looks goofy. Which is a comparatively small complaint, because this really is the best that the game ever does, pulling you into what's going on and making you really interact with it.
You have 4 minutes left.
My immersion is a bit of a joke, but this really is the single most immersive thing that the game will ever do. Of course, then you get silly things like, do I want to sit in this chair for a bit? It tries. It tries at least. As I said, there are a large variety of different items that you can gather. Some of them more distressing and less effective than others. We will be sparing the more painful options, but I'm gathering what I'm aware of anyway.
And 30 seconds left.
I wanted that. And whiskey.
You have 3 minutes left.
I might have missed some implements of torture, but this is a pretty good spread of what you have available to you. This includes the whiskey, which can be drunk to help calm Ethan down. You can also take multiple shots. Strangely enough, it does have an impact. Well, a bit of an impact. This piece of wood to bite down on. Also available is a disinfectant and the rod, which is meant for cauterization. Now, there's a bit of a glitch in the game where if you don't use these in exactly the right order, you cannot use both the disinfectant and the cauterization rod at the same time, which is a bit annoying because I believe there's actually a trophy linked to it. Thank you, David Cage. Now we have all kinds of really fun things to use, but these here are the quickest and least horrible of them, and this right here is actually, I think, one of the most effective uses of a QTE in a game. All of these move extremely slowly. They really force you into the tension of the moment, and yes, this is extremely effective when you are actually playing the game.
You have 2 minutes left.
It's also probably the best acting Ethan has ever done, which is unfortunate. I was trying to get the cauterization rod to acknowledge me, but it didn't. Now, I mentioned a few minutes ago that shot of him going down and picking up the rod was really aggravating, and that's because of this. Because that is where the microchip was the entire time. If he had just looked under the desk and seen that crappy floorboard, we could have avoided this entire thing. Roosevelt. The last line is Roosevelt. Go bandage yourself. Figure that out. It's right there. It's Roosevelt. Just come on. Okay, that was the single most effective thing in this game.
That's affirmative, Lieutenant.
Now let's move on to the rest of the game.
Perfect. Nobody moves until I give this signal. Is that clear? We nail him as soon as he sets foot outside.
Right, Lieutenant.
Lucky that patrol spotted his car.
What's he doing in there?
Beats me. You're the profiler, right? I thought you were supposed to be right inside the killer's head.
Well, that's just it. What I know of Ethan Mars doesn't match the killer's psychological profile.
I know what the jury's gonna choose between your theories.
What concrete proof? There is no concrete proof.
What the fuck is that girl doing there? If Mars comes out now, she's gonna be in trouble.
What do we do, Lieutenant? Want to get her out?
No, stand down.
I don't know why they're even waiting to leave the building. Wait, if this is a police operation, they shouldn't let her... She shouldn't be allowed to go in the... An officer should come out and say, "Ma'am, we're investigating it." Come on. These are the worst cops.
She's going inside. Maybe she lives there.
It's an abandoned building.
Around if Mars comes out.
Ethan, what happened? The police, they're out there. I think they're here to arrest you. We've got to find
Wait, how
another
did you
way
know where
out.
he was?
Shit. What's he up to in there? Wait for a go on my word.
You can't get out that way.
She looks so put out that she can't leave the front door. Can't go out that way. Okay, fine. So, what we have here is a bit of a puzzle to find a way out of this building before the police come in. This does have an impact on the game. If you cannot figure out how... Wow, that is some weird animation on that umbrella. Apologies. If you cannot figure out how to get out of here in time, then the police will arrive, you will not have a means of escape, and Ethan will be arrested. Now, Ethan being arrested is not the end of his involvement in the game, at least not if you only manage to get arrested once. You have 2 opportunities for him to be taken into police custody. The first one...
Shit! It's too high.
The first one you have an opportunity to have him escape, assuming that Nom and Jaden can allow him to do so. There's no... We won't be getting arrested here, so might as well just tell you. The second arrest actually is the end of his involvement in the story. It does not come until pretty late in, and honestly, I think it's fairly hard to get arrested at this point, or the second one.
2 men at the door, hold your positions. It's a go!
I should also probably mention that if you get arrested the second time, but did not get arrested this first opportunity, you still have a chance to have him escape and make the arrest effectively meaningless.
Come on, let's go this way.
Speaking of meaningless, and this is a very weird design decision, there are multiple ways this scene can go down depending on how many other trials you've completed and whether you finish this one. If you do not finish this trial, for some reason, if you do not finish this trial but do finish the other 2, this cop will fire his gun in such a way that it will shoot off the end of Ethan's finger.
That girl who went in! Everybody downstairs! They're in the
I believe the only way to avoid Ethan not losing his finger, or
the subway.
Sorry, to avoid Ethan's losing his finger, is to either have him arrested here without doing the trial, or not doing any of the trials, or failing or not doing any of the trials up until this point. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's symbolic of sacrifice or something. It's a really bizarre way of making... I'm sorry, I just noticed that Norman almost got run over on the bottom screen there. Anyway, it's just a really bizarre way of making your decision kind of pointless. Like, a really bizarre kind of pointless, too. I guess it's just to enforce this particular moment, where he's, you know, dizzy from blood loss and has to rely on Madison to get him through this, but...
Ethan, they're coming!
Odd decision. Just an odd decision. I also find this kind of interesting that I believe this was supposed to be a moment where his fear of crowds was going to come into play. I mean, it kind of looks like it, except it's being preceded by the whole hemophilia thing.
Ow! Hey, watch it, man! Please! Stop or I'll shoot!
Missed opportunities, I guess. Anyway, this chase scene, such as it is, you can still be caught by the police. I find it interesting that literally nobody listens to stop police, or that the police really have no capacity to actually run. But whatever. So you really just need to make it over here to the train in time. Riveting. I have to admit, after all the tension buildup from the lizard trial, this feels very, goofy. Very goofy. I think that's one of my main problems with this game. It has so many good ideas, and some things it really does execute quite well, and then it just forgets logic and sensibility and just sucks all of the tension out of what it was going for without really thinking about it.
The tracks. We've got to cross the tracks.
Anyway, heavy rain.
Quick, Ethan, quick, it's gonna hit us!
Another missed opportunity, you cannot get run over by this train. You know, every decision is important to your characters are constantly on the cusp of death, but you can't get hit by this train. It's such an obvious thing. Oh, come on, it wasn't even that close.
We've got to get on that train, Ethan. It's our only chance.
Would you check out those creepy mannequins?